Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes. Today we're recapping Dark, episode 7 from season 2. This is the White Devil, and I'm here with, I'm not going to call her the White Devil. I'm going to call her my co-host, Lindsey Dunn. Ahoy there, Lindsey.
Ahoy, Steve. Thank you for not calling me the White Devil. I was wondering where you were where you're gonna go with that.
It was on the tip of my tongue to do so, and that would be very rude to do so right now. The devil has been in your part of the woods. He took your power away. That's why we delayed last week. Well, I mean, I don't want to lay it on your feet. I'm laying at Mother Nature's feet. Are you doing okay, Lindsey?
Or you could say it's storming in Winden. I mean, when you put the post on Instagram, I was like, why didn't you put a big apocalypse blowing up? It's like there's lots of stormy weather in Winden all the time. So I feel right at home talking about Dark today with all these power outages we're experiencing in North Carolina.
Yeah, well, Winden, I never see. Well, their power flickers when somebody steps through the tunnel. But the storms themselves don't seem to cause power outages. Whereas a storm that tore through your area, that's why I posted that picture, because it looked a little more like your neck of the woods and with power lines being down and trees being down. We don't see that kind of stuff in Winden. So,
It did look a little too familiar for comfort, looking at that picture. But yes, it's amazing what 5 minutes, an 80-mile-an-hour storm coming in for 5 minutes, the damage it can cause across a whole county.
Yeah, dang. You said even the Walmart was out of power too, right? Like the main hub of activity.
Who can close a Walmart down? I mean, that seemed to be unheard of. But yes, the Walmart was closed down. They did open today with a generator. But it's pretty dire. I think things seem to be coming back up slowly but surely. But we've survived snow apocalypse, we've survived ice storms, but apparently 5 minutes with high winds and the city is shut down.
Yeah, those winds get unpredictable, and that's exactly why this happens. And yeah, just for the listeners, you're still currently out of power and you're expecting it back now, but you're not at your regular location. You're in the bunker right now, doing the best you can.
I'm at Claudia's office. I'm at the power plant office, a glassed room. It's very fancy. I don't have the secretary coming in to reschedule my appointments, but
you would just ignore her anyway if she did. I mean, no biggie.
Yeah, cancel everything.
This episode was a wild one. It's a step down from the last episode because, of course, the last episode is a lot to live up to. But I don't know. I think this one is really setting us up nicely, and it really has some weird turn of characters that I was not expecting. I didn't remember these turn of characters.
Mm-hmm. After last week's episode, we talked about how that was many people's favorite episode because they're getting to see the times before everything went bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's a couple of very devilish twists in this one with the White Devil. Devilish twists. And it's there, like you said, it's ramping us up to the season finale and also letting us know for sure we are no longer in those happy times. We are in the thick of the loop of the knot.
Yeah, nobody's really too psyched right now. Nobody's having a great time. That's correct.
There's no parties. There's no Belinda Carlisle. Nope. There's no Rick rolls.
Yeah, and compared to last week, how many smiles and how many good times were going down. It was, it was stark compared to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm eager to get to it. I know, of course, after our recap, we have some listener feedback again. I hope we have time for a quiz because last week you gave me a quiz and I wanted to return the favor this week.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
All right, I am ready. This episode begins with one of our favorite things, a voiceover. People are peculiar creatures. All their actions are driven by desire. Their characters forged by pain. As much as they might try to suppress the pain, to repress desire, they cannot liberate themselves from eternal servitude to their feelings. As long as a storm rages within them, they can find no peace, not in life, not in death. And so day after day, they will do all that must be done. Pain is their ship, desire their compass, all that humankind is capable of. Now, Steve, as I'm reading this, actually, I'm wondering, I'm like thinking about how this is sort of how Christopher Nolan put Oppenheimer in Tenet. It's almost like here the Baran Bo Odar and Jantje Fries are putting 1899 into dark in a way, because this speech sounds like it could come up to be talking about 1899 too, about like the pain is their ship, desire their compass, and
storm raging.
Right, that they're in servitude to their feelings, and on that show the people were sort of, they were locked into these emotions and with these relationships and all of that, sort of following a loop again. But yes, as this is one of their famous speeches, and during this narration in the world of dark, we see a montage of characters thinking about the last time they saw their objects of desire. This is what this speech is about. We have in the Sic Mundus room, Adam is looking at an image of Marta in the white dress, like she wore at the anniversary party. Stranger Jonas is sleeping while Hannah watches next to his bed, holding the suitcase with the time machine, and her thoughts are lingering to Ulrich, and he's wearing the last thing that he wore when she saw him, which was when he came into her house and tried to wring her neck. So they're thinking about the last time they saw these people. And then Marta is looking at the St. Christopher pendant, and she's imagining Jonas in the yellow raincoat with blood on his lip. And that's because the last time she saw him, he was getting punched by Bartosz in the rain.
Okay, yes. I was a little confused by that, and I'm glad you cleared that up, because that makes a lot of sense.
And then Katerina is imagining Mikkel wearing the skeleton costume, which is the last time she saw him. Now, the only one that's a little bit confusing here, that doesn't fit the pattern, is Adam, because he's looking at Marta in the white dress, but we know that Stranger Jonas has seen Marta since that white dress. So that's not the last time he saw her. But I guess for him, that's the penultimate moment of his desire for her and his longing for her.
That's what I was gonna say. He was like imagining her like in their pseudo wedding dress. You know what I mean? Like that's the night that they consummated their love together, and that's like the last like real happy time that Jonas remembers having. So I think it does kind of it indirectly ties in. I was wondering if I was on the right episode when I started watching this, because I was like, wait, why is, like when they got to Ulrich and Hannah, I was very confused. But then when I saw Katerina and Mikkel, I was like, okay, I think I see what they're doing here.
The one thing I guess I have to say, in addition to what I've already said, is that this time the whole thing with Hannah leaving hit me differently than it has before. From the perspective, it's so easy to watch this show and to sort of go like, oh, she's doing this, and you're like, oh, Hannah's taking the suitcase to the past to visit Ulrich. Like, we kind of know that's what she's doing. But I was thinking about her and Jonas and their relationship, and how they kind of have this pattern of leaving each other. When Jonas was a teenager, we know he was busy in the tunnels trying to find his way through, and
Hmm.
Hannah was sort of reaching out to him and saying like, um, maybe the two of us can hang out and do something special
Hmm.
and all that. And she was feeling rejected by Auric and all that.
Right.
And then Stranger Jonas comes back and he rescues his mom because she was going to kill herself, right?
That's right.
And so he came to help her and to be with her. And here, I know they sort of had a fight where he was like, "You need no one. Did you even like Dad at all? Did you
Hmm.
even care about him?" So he was kind of mad, but it kind of hit me that she took his way of transportation. Like, not only did she leave, but she took his stuff. She took his time machine. And so he's now stuck there. Um
Hmm.
that's got to kind of hurt.
Yeah, I was aware of that, but like when you lay it down like that, on top of the other strange way she's acting this episode, yeah, she's that is some pretty low down dirty stuff. It's she heard what Jonas said and she's trying to double down on it or something. I don't she
Yeah.
heard that Jonas say that, she shouldn't have anybody or she's just destined to be alone. And yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like she's doubling down on that.
Or, she's just like, it's just a little bit, she's just so cold and heartless. It's a pretty big deal to take someone's time machine, because that's the way he's been wandering around. And of course, fate will step in and all that, but I think that uh it just hadn't hit me before that, like, my mom my mom stole from me.
Yeah, it's as if like your mom lived like in the middle of nowhere and you went
Mhm.
to visit her and then she stole your car and left you there.
Right.
And there was no way you could get anywhere. Uh,
Exactly.
so yeah, yeah.
'Cause he took her in, like, he was the one that said, "Hey, I think you need to see this." So
Yes.
he gave her that's a gift that he gave her to, like, "Hey, I'm gonna trust you," and so he invited her into the fold,
Right?
and this is how she is gonna repay him.
Not great, Hannah. Not great.
Well, Hannah does a lot of interesting stuff this episode, so we're just getting started.
Yes.
Um, so moving forward then, we
Hmm.
have June 26th, 1954, one day until the apocalypse. At the police station, Egon and Daniel Conwald are listening to an autopsy report from yet another reliable Winden forensic specialist. They always do such a good job, all of them.
Yeah, I feel kind of sorry for them though, because all they do is like they're just like living their lives there, like watching all this stuff happen, but they're not actually involved in it. So they're just like they're not getting part of the fun. They don't get to time travel.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to have a lot of fun though, doing what he's doing,
Sure, yeah.
measuring people's radiation in people's body. I think if I was a forensic specialist, it would be a pretty interesting career. So I bet they're loving it. Down in the lab, I mean, they love it. So
Shout out to Nate. You remember Nate told us he was doing stuff like this. So
that's true, Nate.
shout out to the boy. I'll let you continue though.
So the woman was 5'7" and probably 75 to 80 years old. The cause of death was a shot to the chest. They have her clothing and her possessions. She has these black shoes and military style garb, plus this dial with numbers around the side.
Hmm.
The eyes are notable because she has heterochromia. Egon looks on this detail with interest because of his daughter.
Sure, yeah. I think the thing
And
around her
go
neck
ahead.
before you go on,
Mhm.
I thought it was a compass at first
Yeah.
viewing, but then like looking on, I guess it's some kind of like mathematical dial that like helps you solve formulas quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it must be something Claudia used
For
to.
circumference, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping you could enlighten me.
I've never seen such things, but I've seen similar things that, like, will measure, like, the diameters of, holes or tears or things like that. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I wasn't sure what that thing was either, and we'll move on because it
Yeah.
was fun looking.
Yeah, I mean, usually when they do these autopsies, they kind of say what they found, so I was kinda hoping they would bring it up, and
Yeah.
they mentioned so many other little details, but, and when the last one, they were like, "They're dressed funny, and they had a brony well, they didn't say brony tattoo, but they
It was.
yeah, so it was like, I was hoping that it would be brought up or maybe it'd be on the Reddit what was on. Somebody would have a discussion, but nope, couldn't find anything.
Listeners, speak up. This is what we need to know.
Yes, exactly. So Egon reports that the woman came to see him at the police station on the day Helge reappeared. He remembers she was confused and not altogether there, and that she apologized to him. Daniel theorizes that the woman is Ulrich's accomplice. He suggests that Egon talk to Helge and see if Helge recognizes the woman. Egon seems hesitant to follow this order.
Yeah, that's weird. I couldn't figure that out why he would be hesitant besides just the fact he has to go back and deal with Helge's mom again, perhaps. Maybe that's the hesitation, but it seemed like it was significant.
Yeah, I mean, Greta Doppler. I mean, nobody wants, she's not the most fun person to talk to, but I I think he's just feeling weird in general about Ulrich. Um
Hmm.
cuz and the woman. He feels weird
Sure,
about this
sure.
woman because she said something that his daughter then said to him. They've
Okay,
got the
yeah.
eyes. So I think for him it kind of freaks Claudia's case kind of freaks him out in general.
Okay.
Um but yeah, I think maybe he was remembering the last time he went to talk to Helge, it didn't go so well. So,
This Daniel guy like loves this accomplice theory. I mean, this is the only time it kind of made sense. The last time when he brought up the accomplice, it made no sense. This time it kind of ties in because like the timing of her coming to visit him and then the reappearance of Helge happening on the same day. It's a pretty big coincidence. So I can kind of see where he's coming from, but he's just really quick to jump on that.
yeah, but we've already established that they're like desperate to find some kind of tie-in to seem like that it was right for
Yeah,
them to lock up Ulrich. Um, but he's like,
true.
"Hey, he's got white hair, she's got white hair." Well, he didn't have white hair yet, did he? Never mind. No, that doesn't work. So then the forensic specialist mentions that Claudia's body is highly contaminated with radiation. He demonstrates with a Geiger counter. She was exposed to radiation for a long time to get these types of readings. Danielle thinks maybe the woman was a radiographer and helped with x rays as a career. I had to look up what a radiographer was because I was like, at first I was thinking, oh, it's somebody that um works on radios. I don't know, like sending messages or like decoding messages. But yes, it's you help with x-rays at the doctor's office.
Right, right.
Like radiology. Yeah.
Or you time travel. I mean, you get it many ways.
But it was just like he said radiographer and he's like, yeah.
A female? A female with an occupation? What madness is this?
Yeah, or maybe they were thinking she doesn't look like a nurse. She looks like a crazy woman with this long, unruly hair.
I guess they do
Um,
kind of make that stick out as a point, which it shouldn't be. I mean, ladies have
yeah.
long hair. It's just the way it is. But Yeah, you're right. They do make her look kind of crazy with the way they string it out.
Yeah. So then in 1987, Claudia is reporting some findings in a tape recorder.
Aha! I know these recordings.
Well, I'm not sure that this is the same. She recorded
Oh.
these messages about things. She took notes through dictation. So maybe, it's just kind of like, I just felt like it was a clever character moment. Like, oh, here she's doing this about these reports
Mm-hmm.
that Byrne had given her. She's like taking notes to herself. And then we know that she takes notes one day about, she closely follows the whole, like, the thing about the God particle and what it will
Right.
take to get through it. She mentions that the particle regularly decays into 2 protons at a mass of 125 gigaelectron volts. And in one case, it decayed into 4 muons.
4 muons? Are you serious? What does that mean?
Yeah, I have no idea what any of that stuff means, but I wrote it down in case.
I wrote down some basics too.
Oh,
I'm gonna
good.
throw I'm gonna throw mine out
Okay.
just for the heck of it. I looked up on energy.gov was my source, by the way.
Okay.
So a muon is a particle similar to an electron, but with much more mass. The most important thing about muons that I could find that ties in with dark is that muon can help detect dangerous nuclear materials and see into damaged nuclear power plants. So
Mhm.
that's, they're tied in with nuclear power plants of some sort. So that's kind of how it ties in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing this relates to the God particle somehow, that the findings would indicate that. But yeah.
Well, yeah, the muons help detect the God particle, is what it is,
Mhm.
because they look for extremely radioactive stuff, which is the God particle. So we like those muons, and there's 4 of them working together. Heck yeah.
All you scientists out there it is. Let us know if you know any other facts about why Claudia found this so interesting. All right, so Claudia's assistant enters the office surprised to see Charlotte at work. Claudia at work already. I did not mean to say Charlotte.
Yeah.
Claudia admits that she lost track of time. She asks what day it is, and the assistant reports June 26th. She looks at the newspaper clipping that reports Egon's body was found on this day. So she's ready to make a quick exit. She has no time for the meeting with the French. And I was noticing that Claudia has this more natural look today. She's usually so put together with her latest fashions and pristine makeup. And today she's just got this more natural,
Hmm.
um, hairstyle and not very much makeup. And she's dressed very simply. So it just shows she has her mind on other matters today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I noticed the same thing too, that she was dressed down, and I figured the same thing you just said, that she's busy, too busy to put on her lipstick and stuff today. She has a kicker assistant out, didn't kick her assistant out. She ignores her, doesn't even speak to her this time, just runs out of the room.
Yeah.
And we know just from the research that Claudia did in the library in 2019 that she's going to disappear as well. Like, this might be the last time anybody sees her. It could be. I'm like
Hmm.
waiting for that to happen, because that, oh, maybe it happens at the end of this episode. Who knows?
Oh,
everybody's
maybe.
already everybody's already seen this. But yeah, that's something else that I wrote in my notes too, that, like, this was also the day before she disappeared.
Yeah. If everything happens how it's supposed to happen, and I guess theoretically that's what Claudia wants here too, because that's what her older self told her needs to happen in order for Regina to be saved.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and when she disappears, it's not going to be with a great reputation. Like we talk about her like she's a power broker and she's like, great. She's really not great. This last couple of weeks, she's not been doing great and
Yeah.
shoving off her meetings, and now she's going to disappear. What kind of reputation you going to leave behind, Claudia?
Well, who knows what they'll say about me when I'm gone? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? So then in 2020, Jonas wakes up to find Hannah as well as his time machine gone. His mother has
Mhm.
abandoned him and stolen his things, leaving him stranded. And we see the ghost of teenage Jonas here, left alone to fend for himself. Meanwhile, Hannah prepares to enter the cave, suitcase in hand, and she's wearing this blue skirt, transitioning from passion to duty. No more red, Steve. We've only got blue on.
Okay. I mean, I didn't really notice the color. I'm glad you pointed that out. I noticed it was old fashioned looking what she was wearing. I think she was just trying to match with the time period that she was hoping to go to.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I was colorblind that scene because even after watching it like 3 or 4 times, I still don't remember. I just remember it was old fashioned looking what she was wearing.
Yeah, she's got her hair up in like an updo, and she's got an A-line skirt. She's all ready for the 50s, I guess, in Germany. So at the Nielsen house, Katerina lifts her shirt sleeve to see her tattoo, K plus U,
Mm,
a reminder of the vows she and Ulrich made to one another. And she looks at the cave map and the secret door indicated.
mm.
So I guess this is Katerina kind of waking up for her stupor and being like, time to go to work.
That's right. Well, yeah, she was pretty focused. She has been pretty focused. But yeah, then she kind of came down a little bit last couple episodes, but she's back and determined again.
But she's determined now that yeah, I'm gonna find him. I'm not just gonna sit around anymore.
This is a tattoo reveal, though. We didn't know she had this tattoo, right?
We've never seen it before.
All right, cool.
So at the Doppler house, Charlotte shows the Polaroid photo of Noah holding her as a baby to Peter. She shares that it has all has to do with her. The Noah said the world would end tomorrow and that only the people in the bunker will survive. And Noah also told her that her mother is alive. Charlotte looks still very vulnerable, and Peter doesn't really know how to comfort her.
Right, right.
I guess we could say
Hmm.
that the two of them seem to be working together better now. They're talking still. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you point out that he doesn't really know how to comfort her, which I think is normal in their situation because yeah, they're starting to get closer. And he's like, "Oh, how close do I get? Do I
Mhm.
wrap my arms around her? Do
Yeah.
I pat her shoulder?" Yeah. But
She
yeah,
usually doesn't like that kind of maybe she doesn't usually like that kind of affection, and
sure.
he might be like, "Hey, I don't wanna screw this up, so I'll just stare at my wife and not
Play
say
it safe.
anything." Alright, so at the police station, Clausen looks at a photo of his own, a younger version of himself with an unfortunate mustache, sitting next to a young man, presumably his brother. Justina Jankowski, now that we know she dies, Steve, I feel like we need to say her name. Justina Jankowski enters to give Clausen the information he's requested from the Marburg passport office, that there's only one Alexander Kohler in Marburg. And
Mhm.
Clausen gets really happy about this and says, and then the eyes saw, the ears heard, and nothing remained concealed. We know he's happy when he says a random wise sounding quote. And Justina recognizes this as a Freud quote.
Mhm.
And then Clausen dismisses her. And I feel like Justina has become the new Waller.
I thought Waller was the new Waller. But yeah, she's joining ranks. He's dissing her like openly. He sucks.
Yeah, I mean, he should be like, "Ah, one of my acolytes,
Yeah.
knows Freud," but this doesn't he's just kinda like Charlotte was with Wooler, where she's like, "Thank you, you can leave now."
I mean, yeah, he should be recognizing his own. This is somebody like on his level that like recognizes his quotes. I mean, it's a potential comrade here, and he's just
Mhm.
so pleased with himself and just dismisses anybody else around. I don't know. I still can't believe I almost liked him the first episode he showed up. It's such a regret that I have of almost liking Clausen.
Yeah, it was enough for me to almost stop podcasting with you, but I decided to give you a pass. I figured you'd get wise soon enough.
One thing I will say about Clausen though is uh, I don't like that you said his mustache was unfortunate because I thought he looked cool. I thought he looked totally
Oh god,
cool.
I
He and his
really
brother looked like a Euro band or something. It looked super cool to me.
I think there's only one person in the world that has ever looked good with a mustache,
Okay.
and that's Henry Cavill.
Oh, I don't
Um,
think I've ever seen him with a mustache. He's Superman and like The Witcher, right?
in the Mission Impossible Fallout, he had a mustache.
And I guess it was pretty hot.
It looked pretty good.
All right, I'll have to
But
look that
most
up.
people like with most guys, I prefer beards over just a mustache. So anyway, I thought it looked awful. And
Okay,
if
okay.
we were having a fashion show, a fashion vote, Clausen would definitely get the worst of for this.
Mm,
But anyway,
I'll give him a high five because I like
you
that look.
like the mustache, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I kept thinking about the brother. I was for a
Sure,
while
sure.
poring over this picture going, "Does the brother look like anybody?
Right.
Is he possibly in the Sick Mundus photo?" Who knows? But I
I
think
was
he
thinking
just
all
was
that too. I didn't recognize him at
yeah,
all. Like I was trying to trick myself into thinking I recognized the actor in the picture. I don't even think
exactly.
I don't think I even recognize the actor. So,
Yeah, I mean, he has a face that makes you feel like you've seen him before.
yep, that's right. Maybe he
S
comes back later. I don't know because it's new to
y
me. this
yeah,
this whole Clausen storyline and this Hannah storyline, like I don't remember any of this, so it's all kind of new to me. So I'm really enjoying
yeah.
it.
There is one person I think he kinda looks like, but we haven't met that person yet, so I can't really talk about it.
We'll look forward to that in the future.
If I remember, "Oh, this is the person that looks like Clausen's brother." Yeah.
We both have good memories. I'm sure we'll remember this.
Okay. So elsewhere in town, the teen team talk about if they should tell the adults what they have discovered,
Mhm.
and Magnus votes yes, as well as Franziska. This is kind of funny because like usually teens do not want to bring in adults, especially the
Mhm.
Scooby gang. Every young adult, like guys, I'm a young adult librarian, and I feel like every young adult book, when there are adults involved, the kids never tell them what's going on. So it's kind of a funny, like, should we tell our parents? And Magnus and Francisca both say yes. Bartosz isn't sure that's the best idea.
Hmm.
Marta's just gazing at the St. Christopher pendant with her thoughts on Jonas, who might be
Mhm.
nearer than she thinks. Bartosz snaps at Marta that this is her only thought. Marta gives it to him right back. She lashes out furiously and cruelly. She's pissed that Bartosz kept the information from them. And furthermore, she tells him that he's not welcome in the group anymore. As far
Mm.
as she's concerned, there never was a we. And I was like, Marta, you're being really harsh to Bartosz in this case. If I was in the show, if I was a character, I'll be like, Marta, but nobody really speaks up for Bartosz. I feel like she's placing all the blame for her heartache on him, and he's just an easy target because he's here.
I think she's speaking for the group though, because remember Magnus was beating up on him. Francisca was like icing him too. Um, Elizabeth, of course, was not. But we see later on in this episode, we don't see Bartosz hanging out at the Doppler household later with everybody else. So he does wander off, and Marta does kick him out of the group. And like when she leaves, it's not like Magnus and Katerina are all like, yeah, it's cool, buddy. I mean, she kind of talks them into like seeing her way as well. And I think I kind of see on Magnus's face that he's kind of, you know, feeling pissed at Bartosz as well for not talking about this sooner. Because, like you said, you wouldn't expect these kids to like tell adults about this, but they're so concerned that it's come to this now. And I think maybe that's the turn that Marta took, where she's like, "You never did this, Martosh. You could have been doing this months ago, and you never did." Um, I can almost kind of see where she's coming from, but also obviously as a viewer, I can see that it is misplaced anger, and there's other people she could be getting more mad at than Bartosh, but they're not there at the moment, just like you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I just think that even at the end, she just walks away from everybody. She's like,
Hmm.
you guys can do whatever you want. So she's just in a mood about, the whole thing. Is she's just staring off the pendant and going, I think Bartosz is right. Jonas is coming back. And Bartosz is like, that's all you can think about. And then she's like, well,
She's
maybe he would know what's going on. And you don't know anything. And you could have told us this and that. And I guess I didn't feel like necessarily Magnus and Franziska were, I mean, they're not all friends and they know, hey, we just tied you up too. So they could feel a little guilty about it. I don't know. I think Marta is in her own little bubble right now with her mind is only on Jonas. And so it's like,
yeah.
you don't need to be that pissy at Bartosz, but
You're not wrong, because I mean, where does she go from here? She goes straight to Jonas's house.
yeah.
So you're not wrong at all.
Yeah. I mean, Bartosz could be pretty pissed off at them. And
I feel
she's
like he
like,
should be.
yeah,
Yes.
I do think he should be too, but so
Yeah.
let's move on from these teens. They're so unruly. Let's go visit Egon because he knows what teens are really like.
That's right. He talks to kids great.
So in 1954, Egon goes to visit Helge. Greta Doppler warns that Helge is tired and can't talk long. Egon gets right to the point and asks if Helge has ever seen Claudia. And he holds this photo of her corpse, which I was thinking, this isn't the best idea to show a child, but this is Helge. He's seen a lot at this point, so he's probably not going to be phased by a dead body.
I think the same thing too. That was not appropriate. I said so
Yeah.
to Heather, my wife, and Heather was like, "Well, what else did you expect Egon to do if he's trying to ask, Helge about this woman?" I'm like, "I don't know,
Mhm.
describe the woman. Hey, have you seen a
Mhm.
woman with long stringy white hair?" It's that simple. You don't have to show her
Yeah.
a corpse photo. That's like so like macabre. I don't know.
Yes. That's what I thought too. I mean, these are like little details that sometimes you go,
Right.
this doesn't seem quite realistic that they would be like showing it to Helge. Like, here's this dead body, but and
I mean,
didn't
I
she
would
have her eyes open? Doesn't she
that
have her eyes open?
in the picture, her eyes were closed, and she looked even creepier with her eyes
Okay, good.
closed. She looked very corpse-like, and, like, I believe I, like, made, like, an audible sound, like, when I first saw this scene, like, when he showed the picture to Helge, I believe I was like, like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I don't know. I put like in the notes, but I guess Egon figures Helge has seen it all by now. But I don't know where I would have gotten that idea.
Well,
Um,
I guess up at this point, he hasn't seen it all, but he's seen enough. He's seen a man beating him over the head with a rock, and he's seen these schoolboys peeing on him. Remember that? He got
yeah, yes,
mercilessly bullied. So he's seen a lot already. That's true.
he he has. But okay. So at first Helge says nothing, But eventually he tells Egon that he told me about her, the White Devil. This gets Egon's attention because he's heard the term before, but also we know Egon really likes talking about devil worship and anything with devils. Egon gets really excited.
He does. It's true.
So he looks shocked at first and is intensely like, "What did you say?" But then he realizes maybe this isn't the right tactic. So then he's like, "Well, tell me about the White Devil." Sort of like, "Tell me all about it, buddy, old pal." And Helge says that the White Devil wants to kill everyone. Egon tries to assure him that she's dead and can't kill anyone anymore, and Helge just says, "But she hasn't even started yet," which is creepy.
Creepy and prophetic and
Mhm.
kind of true.
Yeah, that is really true. But, yeah, any thoughts about that scene?
I was like, I felt like Egon was like reading my mind in real time as I was watching this scene because, like, when the White Devil thing came up and he got that big shocked look on his face, I was like, dude, chill, chill. If you want to get any answers, you're going to have to chill.
Yeah.
And then his face softens and then he kind of has a smirk, like, oh, tell me about the White Devil. And I'm like, yes, yes. So I felt like he was reading my mind, like, as I was giving him advice on how to handle this young boy.
Mhm. Yeah, it does seem like he's learned a thing or 2 since the last time he tried to talk to Helge.
Yeah,
Um,
he's getting there. He has confidence built up a little bit, I think, because he did get Helge to talk, right? Or was it was Noah that got Helge to
it
talk?
was Noah.
Okay. All right. Well, there goes that theory.
Yeah. Mm. So, yeah, it was and Greta's face is interesting too as Helge is talking about the White Devil. She wants to kill everyone, and Greta's like, "Hmm." She had an interesting look on her face too.
Oh, I wanted to say too that Helge was wrong because he said that she wants to kill us all, and I don't think that's correct. I think maybe she will kill you all, but I don't think that's what she wants.
Mhm.
Or this white devil, I mean. I don't know who it is yet.
Yeah. Well, this is what Oh, and Egon thinks when she says "he" that he's talking about, Ulrich, like the man with the
Yes,
stone,
that's
but
right.
we're guessing he's talking about Noah,
Yeah.
right? Did you think that too? Okay.
Well, no, I was thinking Ulrich, but Noah makes more sense to me because I know that they have talked at this point and they have like established a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that would be true is if Ulrich had mentioned the White Devil when he came to visit little Helge, but I don't think he did. He was more like, "Did you kill them yet?" and all this stuff. So I don't think he talks about Claudia to or the White Devil. I think
You
that
give me an
name is
urge to dig through my notes.
yeah. That's the only thing I could think of is if when Ulrich came to see him at his house, if he brought up that phrase, but I don't think we did. But um so in 1987, Claudia goes to visit her dad at his apartment. She wants to know if he will move in with them, and she looks flustered, but she's trying to play it off like she's relaxed when she's anything but. Egon smiles at her concern and care for him, but he's not ready to move right this second. In fact, he has to go to a doctor's office to get his first chemo treatment, and Claudia asks if she can go with him. Egon seems really happy about this, and it's almost a little sad because I feel like old
Mhm.
people really do love their kids, and he's like, "That's so nice that you wanna come with me."
Yeah, his perception right now is that she's flustered because she just wants to like have him move in with her. And now she's taken an interest in his health. So yeah, he's at this point, he's probably over the moon.
Mhm. So then in 2020, Clausen talks to Alexander. He's accompanied by Waller, who hands Alexander a paper with a passport record for Alexander Kohler.
Why did you
Klaus,
make him do that? That was such a power play.
yeah, it was like this scene is absolutely ridiculous because he points out that according to the passport information, Alexander is the wrong height to be Alexander Kohler. This minute detail gives Clausen an excuse he needs to arrest Alexander. So it was like, nobody has ever made a mistake on a driver's license before, I guess.
All you gotta say is I was trying to impress a girl. I lied,
Or
or
I wore shoe lips.
yeah, I was wearing boots. I don't know. Like it's so stupid, but I I know where Clausen's coming from because Clausen absolutely believes that Alexander Kohler is not who he says he is, and that he's absolutely certain that he's
Mhm.
guilty. So he's been digging for evidence for a long time, like interviewing people and trying to get all kinds of evidence. And this is all he came up with, but it's enough for him to
Mhm.
arrest him on suspicion. It's almost like the Al Capone thing, where everybody knew how guilty Al Capone was, but the only thing they could get him on was tax evasion. So that's what he went to jail for.
Right.
So Clausen's grasping at obvious straws, but he's trying to make a big show of it by having Waller hand him the evidence to make it seem more like weighty. Uh,
Yeah. Where did the 2 inches go? It's like he thinks he's on Law& and Order or something, and he can, like, yell it in his face with
that's it.
triumph.
It seems like he's on the wrong show. That's absolutely it. Like we said before, like nobody's happy. Nobody's having a good time in this episode. Clausen's having a great time. He's loving life right now. He's
That's true. One person is having a great time, and that person is Clausen. But the bureaucracy in Germany, I guess, is this tight that 2 inches can bring you to your knees.
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. It's a tough country.
So across town, stranger Jonas is looking at the photos that Hannah has laid out on the kitchen table. His reverie is interrupted by a knock at the door. The person at the door fills him with dread and anticipation. It's Marta,
Mm.
hoping to talk to Hannah about this whole time travel thing. Jonas looks absolutely terrified to answer the door, but he can't help himself. So then Marta sees stranger Jonas, enters the house anyway. Jonas's presence deeply unsettles her, even though she doesn't know who he is. She feels nervous and a touch of deja vu. She's about ready to leave when Jonas asks if it's a glitch in the Matrix. Yeah, that's like their little love story, their little love notes to each other. Martha stops in shock. He talks about the day she found the pendant.
Mhm.
Marta realizes he must be Jonas, and Jonas looks down shyly, and they now see each other.
That's all we get this scene of them too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love this scene. This was great. And I liked how yeah, just like you said, the glitch in the matrix. That's like the little thing. That's like the ultimate fist bump
Yeah.
between him and Mickle. That's how he knows that, the person he's talking to. Um so if it was Magnus, what do you think that like him and Magnus's signal is to each other that he could prove that that it's him? I'm thinking like
Smoke
maybe
some
like
weed. I don't know.
we'll smoke weed, but with Nicholas the fist bump with Marta, it's a reference to a movie. So I'm guessing with Magnus, I would be thinking it was like a Pickle Rick, like kind of quote, or maybe like a South Park thing, because they're boys. They're like teenage boys in 2019. So
Or
that's
like
probably what they're into.
the black hoodie. I found your black hoodie.
yeah, yeah, me? Yes, that might get them. But yeah, this is another neat reveal, and I like the way they play it too because they make us wait. I like the way that that Dark does that to us. They throw a cool scene at you here, but you don't actually get to see them talk until later. So I like that
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah. And this is the scene where he says like, "Do I make you nervous or
Mm-hmm.
do yeah, and I don't want to make you nervous."
Mm-hmm.
So he's being very caring about her feelings and
Yes.
sensitive towards sensitive towards anything upsetting her.
Yeah, just like aware of his appearance and aware of the differences between them now.
Mhm.
He could have lied and said that he was, his uncle or something. I mean, they could have easily gotten away with that.
Yeah, the acting was really good here. You
Yeah,
can see the teen Jonas in him, I feel like.
that's right. I'm more of a Stranger Jonas fan than a Teen Jonas. Don't shoot me. I'm more of a Stranger Jonas fan, but yeah, I think he was awesome this episode. Yeah.
Well, we all have to give up props to Andreas Peachman, but I feel like part of his that I guess that's what I'm saying. His acting is really good to be able to emulate a
Oh,
teenager. He's kind of like a bumbling
yeah.
like a teenager, just like Jonas did. So that takes some work. It reminds me of that. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Honey Boy, but
Mm-mm.
it's a. Did you see it?
I know I'm aware of it, but I did not
Okay,
see it.
it's like the life story of Shia LaBeouf, and the there's the character of Noah Jupe is the guy's name, plays him when he's younger, and then there's the adult character, which I can't remember the character's name now, but they did a lot of work on like body language and how to stand, and so
Okay.
that the person's stance was almost the same, and that's I guess that's the kind of thing I'm seeing here. Like,
Sure.
yeah, it's
And
really
the more
good acting. Yeah.
and the more I mean, I had to watch the episode multiple times, and then the more you watch it, the more you see it.
Hmm.
Just like Martha says later, like now that I know, it's obvious.
Yeah. So back in 1987, Claudia sits nearby while Egon gets his chemotherapy. I would have loved to get a screenshot of this because I felt like the this episode has really good like production design.
I
Some of
thought
the
that
most
too.
beautiful screenshots, but this shot of like him in the chair and her next to him in this yellow room is really beautifully laid out.
Yeah, that old school like wood paneling. Like
Yeah.
at first, I was going to make fun of the wood paneling, but I was like, oh, it's like time appropriate. This is exactly what they would have in a comfortable room in a hospital. It makes sense.
Yeah, I have wood paneling at my house, Steve, but
In
it is the 1960s.
2023, what?
Yeah. So he wonders aloud if he was a good police officer. Never good with emotions, Claudia doesn't really know what to tell him. She tries to change the topic and assures him that he was fine. He takes her hand and says, "You were always different. You saw the world differently from the start." And Claudia starts to tear up at this rare moment of tenderness between father and daughter. He's going through chemo, and it's one of those things when you're in he probably feels like he's kind of on his deathbed or close to it. So I think that sometimes when you have these kinds of things happen, you start to get, what would you say, contemplative? Here he's like kind of
Wistful.
wistful. Yeah, he's like trying to reach out to his daughter here. Maybe this will be one of the last moments they get to talk to each other.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it.
He also wonders if he doesn't see the world correctly.
Mm,
He thinks he did something stupid once. He brings up a movie about a guy that can use a car to get to the past. I guess that's Back to the Future.
gotta be.
He thinks the stuff in that movie really exists. Time travel must exist. Somehow it has to
Mm,
do with Mads and Helge. He regrets deeply that he failed to see these events correctly. For her part, Claudia says nothing. She does not like that Egon is talking this way. And like Charlotte, she kind of wants to figure this out on her own without interference.
yeah, he's getting a little too close to the truth here for her comfort, I guess. And it's kind of freaking her out, maybe. Um,
Yeah. I mean, part of me wonders why it had to be like that. Like, why didn't. Because I think even in the last episode, there's a moment when they're in the car, when she and her father are in the car and they are talking. Well, maybe it's the episode before, because last episode was, didn't have them in it. But they're, for the last couple episodes where we've seen them, they've been having these conversations where Egon seems to be getting closer and closer to the truth. And
mhm, mhm.
one way she could handle it is how she's doing it here, where it's like, oh, got to keep him away from that. But in another universe, she could be like, you know what, Dad, you're right. And here, let me tell you what I know. And, you know, like see him as a partner or somebody she could confide in. But so I guess I have like a question sort of in my head about why she felt like he couldn't know anything.
I think because she knows him. Um, and he, I was going to say this later. I'll say it now because it
Mhm.
seems appropriate. I kind of view Egon, I've realized, as like a Ned Stark type character, like from Game of Thrones. And what I mean by that, if you or the listeners aren't familiar, is Ned Stark was a character that was like full of honor and he never lied, always told the truth, always did what was right. And it got him killed very quickly. He wasn't a very savvy political maneuverer. He wasn't, good with his friends because of his honor. And they say that like he wore his honor around him like a coat of protection and like would never take it off. I think Egon's kind of the same way. And everything he does in his eyes is the right thing to do. Like, you know, capturing Ulrich the times that he has and the choices that he's made are always like, well, this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it. It doesn't seem like he has motives.
Mhm.
So I think that Claudia knows that about him. She's always known that about him. Ever since she was young, she recognized those characteristics in him. So I think she knows that he's not a really good person to confide like secrets like that in.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. Like, not only is he honest, but he kind of does things by the book. Like, I need to report this to the cops and go,
Yes.
everything's above board.
Yes.
Whereas I guess part of me wants to think, because I feel like towards the end, we keep hoping Egon will kind of wake up from the stupidity that he seems to have about these things, where he can't see sort of the truth right in front of his face.
Hmm.
And you kind of want to think that if she said, Dad, I'm doing this for Regina, and explain like, what's really going on, that it's for the greater good, that he would be able to understand that. But I guess maybe that's not in his character mold, and that wouldn't work for the
Yeah.
person of Egon.
I don't think, yeah, I think so too. I mean, if somebody came to me and was like, hey, I need to, kill your mom for the greater good, I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yeah, but no, nobody's killing his mom. I mean, the kids are already
Well,
the kid.
she
Yeah.
sacrificed him for Regina, so it's kind of almost the same thing. Like where,
But she only had to do that because she wanted to keep him from the truth. I mean, if
yeah,
they had worked together, she wouldn't have necessarily needed he wouldn't need, but I guess they needed him. What did Egon's death accomplish anything in the loop? Like, if Egon didn't die, then what? I don't know, I guess
he might
Claudia's.
have called the
Yeah.
FBI on the nuclear power plant, and they
Right,
would
but
have.
yeah, but if he had been brought into the fold, if he'd become Sigmundus and
I
like
don't
kept
think
the
I think like Ned Stark, he would not have been able to be brought into
Okay.
the
All
fold.
right. All right. All right.
Oh.
I'll go with it, Steve. I
Oh,
guess
you
like
don't
I was
have
like,
to. We
well,
can
no, I
just
mean I think I was just trying to think what did his death accomplish in the loop, if anything? Did it have an effect on some character's life? I mean,
I
obviously
think it
Claudia
did. It was
felt
a
terrible.
sacrifice.
What?
I think it did. I think it was a sacrifice. That's what Claudia we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
But I think he was a sacrifice, so
we are getting ahead of ourselves. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's continue on for now.
okay.
So, in 1954, Egon returns to the police station to find that another woman is waiting for him in his office.
This is a theme.
Yeah, because he kind of looks freaked out, but that's because the last time a woman was in his office, it was Claudia. So she's
That's
like, what's
right.
going to be there this time? So apparently, it's about the man in the asylum. The woman claims she knows him, and Egon's curious to talk to this new person. The woman turns out to be Hannah. Hannah claims she's looking for her husband. She saw his picture in the paper and that he was accused of killing children. Egon shows her Ulrich's photo with his face bloodied. Hannah then play acts at not being sure. She would like to see the man for herself. Egon admits that he's in the psychiatric ward, so gaining an audience could be tricky, and he thinks the man won't talk to anyone. When asked her name, Hannah says she's Katarina Nielsen.
Already lying. But she turns him around though. Like she convinces Egon because she's like he might talk to me. So it kind of makes sense in a way. It's like it's another straw to grasp at. Um, Kind of a surprise visit, and Egon probably should have been tipped off from the get go that she might not be legit because he says that we reached out to family and nobody responded. So I think he was looking for an answer there, and she never really gave him one.
Mm-hmm. But like, how could I don't even know what he meant by that because the guy didn't
Yeah, me neither.
have his name. So what family did he reach out to?
I think they just
And
maybe just asked in the article.
if anybody knows this man,
Yeah.
please reveal yourselves.
And I think Egon's question, the reason he brought that up is like, why didn't you step forward then? Which she never clarifies.
Hmm.
Um, she looks 1953 though. She sure does have that look, and she nails it.
Yeah, I was like, why did she say she's Katarina Nielsen? Like,
That she did so like if things went well at the prison, then she could say to Ulrich, "Okay, you're Ulrich Nielsen now," and just tell them I'm your wife, Katerina. I think that was kind of a smart play on her mind. She like went in there with kind of like two ideas of how this might go down, and one way
mhm,
it would have went down was it's like that's my husband, Ulrich Nielsen, and I don't
yeah,
know what would have happened then. It did not happen.
yeah. You have to kind of wonder if she had a plan based on what happens later. But I guess we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
So back in 2020, stranger Jonas, and Marta talk at the kitchen table. She wonders where he has been, and he tells her that he was trying to fulfill his promise to make things right. He keeps apologizing to her, and she grabs his hand. She then touches his arm, trying to make sense of the fact that he's real. Then she touches his face, and he relishes her touch, savoring the moment.
Yeah. And I think he's apologizing to her for a couple reasons too, because he needs to tell her this key piece of information, like how they're related.
Mm,
But all they can do is just say, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to say this, Marta."
yeah.
He doesn't get much time though because things happen.
Yeah. So their union is interrupted by an angry Katerina. She just broke into the house. She was knocking on the door. Nobody came to answer. And when no one answers, Katerina's hoodlum days take over, and she just breaks in. Jonas steps in front of Marta protectively, and perhaps for good reason, because Katerina comes in by way of a hammer.
Actually, I got to correct you. It was a crowbar that she had. She had a red crowbar in her hand.
Okay.
So there's that passionate
I thought it was
crowbar.
a hammer, okay. So she's taken aback for only a moment before dragging Marta out from behind Jonas. She wonders if Marta knows who this is and where her brother is. Jonas is her grandson and Marta's nephew. Marta looks at Jonas hopefully, but all he can do is apologize again.
Yep.
Now Marta is perhaps thinking of how it made sense for Jonas to reject her that day in the rain.
I hope she's thinking that. Yes.
We hope she gets there eventually,
Yeah.
because that hurt her very badly.
And that wasn't that long ago in her timeline. In Jonas's timeline, it was 33 some years ago, but in her timeline, it was just 5 or 6 months ago. So
Mhm.
hopefully she does. Yeah, she's thinking about that. You're right, Lindsay. Go on. All right.
Katerina demands to know where the time travel machine is. Jonas again has to apologize because Hannah has taken the machine. And here I feel like it really kicks in. It kind of matches what I was saying before, like, because he's like, Hannah took it, like the way he says her name is like
Yeah.
total aggravation. So it is really upsetting him that she took that machine.
Yeah.
Katerina asks how she can get Mikkel back, but Marta steps in to say that Magnus now has a device, that they time traveled. Katerina wonders if she saw Mikkel. It's news to Marta that Mikkel is in 1987, because
Hmm.
when Katerina says, "Did you see Mikkel?" Marta's like, "Mikkel?" Like, so she didn't know that tidbit, that your brother is there.
Okay. All
And
right.
and that piece of the puzzle hadn't clicked in. She knew there was time travel, and that's why Dad and Mikkel were missing.
Hmm.
But it seemed to really surprise her that Mikkel was there. So something hadn't clicked in her brain for some reason.
See, I took.
Katerina Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
nope. You finish up and then I'll say it.
Okay, Katerina warns Jonas to keep away from Marta. I guess Katerina feels no warmth for her grandson.
That's right. They're family. They should be hugging. Why are they not? Let's see, what was I going to interrupt you and say? Something about Marta. Oh yeah. So what I took from that
Okay.
when Katerina said that about Mikkel, and then Marta got that look on her face, I kind of took. I saw that differently. I saw that as Marta being like, "What? Why are you asking about Mikkel?" That's what I was thinking at. Like, I'm right here in front of you. I just told you I time travel, and now you want to know about Mikkel. And that's kind of echoed later on too when we see um, Hannah and Ulrich talk, and then he brings up Mikkel, and then the same kind of look on Hannah's face. Her face kind of falls a little bit, like, oh, he's asking
Hmm.
about his family. Yuck. So I think I'm wrong. I think my assessment was wrong there. I think you're right that that is when she realizes that Mikkel is back in time because she translates that information to Magnus later on.
Hmm.
So I believe that you're correct.
Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe she was just thinking that Jonas is gone because of the time travel. Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm confused about it, but it seemed like she was either just not thinking about Mikkel, or it hadn't,
Hmm.
yeah, dawned on her that he was in. Why would I have seen Mikkel? Like, yeah.
I think that's what it is, and that she's starting to realize that Mikkel's time traveled also. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm believing you, not myself.
Okay. So then, across town, Clausen enters the interrogation room, ready to question Alexander. He holds out a gun and lays it between them.
What?
I feel like I feel like I was like, remember when we used to talk about how like Egon treats Ulrich? Clausen is like loving his to toy with Alexander much more than I think Egon ever did.
Oh my god, the way he turned the light on in the room and was just, like, so smug, like, "I've shined the light on you, Alexander." Man.
So he tells Alexander that his brother went missing in 1986. His brother's name was Alexander Kohler. There are 700 Alexander Kohlers in Germany, and he himself is now untraceable and took his mother's maiden name.
Hmm.
However, a few months ago, Clausen received an envelope giving him a tip. The message reads, "He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him
Who's
at every
every
pore.
pore?
You'll find the answer concerning your brother in Winden, signed a friend."
Yeah, that's an int
And go ahead.
I was that's an interesting letter he's got there, and okay, you have one more sentence to go, and then I'm gonna talk.
Okay, he says Clausen just says he's sure of one thing. Alexander is not his brother.
So, yeah, this whole scene clues us into Clausen a little bit more. He
Mhm.
makes some reveals. I think it's very, very interesting that he reveals that he himself is untraceable.
Right.
So that makes me it makes my hackles rise. Like maybe he maybe he's not even a police officer. Like, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he's out there just like Alexander Kohler, like under a alias. Nobody knows where he came from. So that's some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. So I guess, and I don't even know if we know his first name, but he was obviously somebody Kohler before,
Mhm.
and now he's somebody Clausen instead. So he's now untraceable. So yeah, it's like game finds game, or game
Yeah.
knows game. It's like he's like, I
Game
know.
recognized game.
Yes, okay, that's it. But as he's doing this, as Alexander is reading this letter, Clausen's like reciting the words out along with him. He's got this letter
Right.
memorized.
He's absolutely obsessed, and I don't feel good about Alexander right now. I think he's in a pretty, weak place, and this gunplay that he's pulling on Alexander is so bizarre. I'm not sure about that whole, like, laying the gun down, then pushing it to the side, then he
Mhm.
points it in his face, and
Yeah.
not very police officery of him.
I guess he had it from the Hannah bag.
I don't think that's it. It can't be it, can it?
No, because yeah, the Hannah has the gun.
She has a black gun. It looks different.
This was like a silver gun. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah, 'cause that's what I was thinking too. I was like, "That's not the same gun." If it was the same gun, then it would be like th it'd be like game over for Alexander, like, calling the FBI at that point or the Interpol or whatever. Um, but he's got nothing on him other than these 2 inches in this cryptic poem. That's all he's really got on him at this point.
yeah.
Where is Alexander's lawyers? I know he's got lawyers because he's got that power plant, and if
Mhm.
you own a company like that, you got lawyers. So I wonder if
Yeah.
anybody even knows he's there. They must. He arrested him at work, right? Yeah, he showed up at Alexander's power plant at the office and arrested him there. So he didn't take
Yeah.
him under the cover of night or anything like that.
That's true.
Come on, lawyers, get in the game here. But even if they did, I mean, we know that Alexander's shady. Okay, well, I guess we gotta admit that to ourselves that he came into town all shady. He'd been shot with an assumed name. I don't
Yeah.
know who to I don't know. I just don't like Clausen's attitude. I don't like his demeanor. So I'm on Alexander's side.
If the accusation is identity theft, then, like, even if he has an attorney, is that considered sort of null and void because he has this job at the wind and power plant, which is, like, a very powerful job, and the reason he
Mhm.
has all this stuff is because of his position. So if he has the
Mm.
position under false pretense, then that may make the city be like, "Sorry, buddy, no lawyer."
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know
good
my
call.
legality that much.
I don't either, but that's a good point. Enough to satisfy me anyway.
Well, Steve, man, I should have had that career then if it satisfies you. Maybe I should have gone into, legal defense.
All
Alright.
judges are not like me. I'm telling you that right now.
So, in 1954, Egon drives Hannah to see Ulrich, and this is I just like this because we're back on this road again, Forest Road. We have to keep going on this street with Egon in his car, right?
Yep,
Everybody's
yep.
gotta drive down this way. So he tells her that Ulrich never confessed. He only said he wanted to save the children. He asks if they have children, and Hannah says no. And Egon finds this strange since the man said he was looking for his son.
Right.
Yeah, nice one, Hannah.
Get a clue, Egon. Come on,
If
buddy.
if you were there exactly, it's right there in front of your face. So, he asks if she has heard of the White Devil, and she says no,
She
and
also laughs.
yes, then this is like the Jonas scene, right? Remember
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly.
"Have you ever, do you know anything about Satanism?"
Yes, that's exactly what I thought about. That's crazy.
He then suggests that if he does talk, that she try to get him to confess, meaning Ulrich, yeah.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's still a good plan. Why not? I mean, I think Egon has his doubts, but he also really wants to get some of these cases solved, and you know, all the police do. That's their job. So obviously, he
Yeah.
wants to do that. I didn't mention. I wanted to mention last scene with Clausen. I forgot to because I wrote down the phrase "chatters with his fingertips."
Yes.
So obviously, like somebody is you know, narking and on the computer or like writing things but not actually saying things. um that made me think about Elizabeth because she can't speak or hear, but
Mhm.
she could write things down. I don't think she knows anything about Alexander Kohler, but it just made me think about Elizabeth for whatever reason. um it also, you know, these talk about betrayal and then these signs at a friend. So we didn't speculate who might have written the letter. That's what I
Mhm.
that's when I was looking at my notes for the Hannah and Egon scene, that jumped out at me. That that's just something we forgot to talk about. Um Not that we have to, but yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that somebody narked him out. So I think it's somebody in the
So
Sick Mundus
who do you
crew.
think? Okay, somebody in Sigmundus?
I'm thinking, I mean, I don't even know how she would even know this. But just based on this episode, I'm thinking Claudia because she's like really trying to like change things and make things right. I, their paths haven't crossed at all, Claudia and Klaus. And well, no, yeah, Claudia is kind of tied in because she's the mom of Regina. Um, I don't know. I just kind of, I feel sure that it's a traveler, and I'm just leaning towards Claudia. And if I'm right, it might just be because I somehow subconsciously remember that from when I saw it like a couple years ago. But that's who my number one suspect would be right now.
Okay.
You know who wrote the letter though, probably.
I believe I remember who wrote the letter, but if
Oh,
I was to speculate about who wrote the letter, I feel like I couldn't do that without talking about the next episode. Um,
Oh, okay.
but
More to come.
yeah, I would say probably if we think back to our camps, we have the camp who wants to change things and then the camp that wants things to stay the same.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing it's somebody in the camp who wants things to stay the same.
Oh, I was
Um,
thinking the opposite.
oh, okay. Well,
It's interesting. Who are the keep things the same camp? That'd be more like Adam, I suppose. Adam's like
like
a
Claudia. Um, well, it's it's interesting because it sort of changes,
it does.
but like the the thing, the way it's worded in the episode when Claudia hangs out with her older self is that they want things to the cycle to repeat itself so that Regina can be saved.
Hmm.
Um,
That's right. That's right.
but then later we also hear Claudia thinking about that finding a way to break free. So I
Right.
think she's kind of like keep everything running until I can figure out the other option. But I think a person in Sigmundus is a good guess too. So in 1987, Claudia drives Egon home. Apparently, he's been filling her in on the details. Okay, this is the scene I was thinking of in the car. We hadn't gotten there yet.
Okay.
That the man from the future came to 1953 and that the same man tried to kidnap another boy. She asks where the man is now. And with every question, Claudia gets more and more nervous. Claudia wants him to move in with her today.
Mhm.
He seems happy because he thinks this means she believes him, which doesn't make any sense, but okay, Egon. He's like a happy little puppy dog when it comes to Claudia. He's like, "You mean you believe me?" More than anything, Egon desires confirmation that he's not crazy.
I th- I realized something just tonight when me and Heather were watching this episode during dinner.
Mhm.
Um as I watched it the previous times, I never could quite figure out why Claudia jumped on it so quickly when he was talking about time travel and Ulrich going into the cave and stuff. She's like, "Well, we need to get you to my place today." Like she just
Yeah.
made this like determination.
Mhm.
I realize now, I didn't realize this tonight. Here's my big revelation that
Okay.
I should have caught the first time. Is that she's concerned that Ulrich is going to go to her dad's apartment and kill him because he's talking about this madman who came out of a cave and how he like she was like, well, where is he now? And he's like, who he's up, he's back at the asylum, he's around. That's when she's like, that does it, you're coming home with me. Because I do believe that she's afraid that Ulrich is going to break free that day and come and kill her dad.
Okay. That makes a
It,
lot of sense. That never
mhm.
dawned on me either. I just thought she was saying, I need to keep an eye on you. I need to I need to make sure you
Yeah.
don't go do anything. But yeah, that's if she knows her dad dies today,
Hmm.
then you're right. Maybe Ulrich would be the most obvious person that would want to kill him.
I mean, her goal is to get that apartment like in their rear view as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I did it.
Yeah. Okay, good call.
Only took
Good,
5 only
Steve.
took 5 watches to realize that the last time, but there you go.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, that never really clicked in place for me. So I appreciate that. So then in 2020, Francisca and Magnus show the time machine to Peter and Charlotte. Peter wants to know when did they travel? and it's Peter's turn to raise his voice. That was, usually it's Charlotte yelling,
Yeah.
or, and Peter is like freaked out now. Francisca slowly realizes her parents know all about this.
Mm-hmm.
Magnus then gets a call during which we can assume that Marta told him about stranger Jonas. Magnus says that Jonas has returned, but older. Charlotte then asks them to stay out of it. And Franziska loses her temper because she's tired of the secrets and she storms out of the house.
Yeah, I can see why she's mad. She's mad now for the same reason Marta was mad at Bartosh, because she's
Hmm.
like, you guys already knew about this stuff and you weren't telling me. And she feels like she's been being dissed by her parents anyway because they're never around.
Right.
So, yeah, Katerina. Not Katerina. Francisca. They're
That
soul
was,
sisters. They're angry
yeah,
ladies.
it's like, it is kind of funny though, because she walks out of the house and then Magnus is like, well, like, I guess I'll leave too.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Doppler.
um, but yeah, it was quite a thing, quite a speech. She's like, she really just goes off and she's like, you didn't even let us know, and when Dad was screwing Benny, what a bunch
Right.
of dumbheads you are, or something. She says something like that they're inadequate, and they're like,
Incompetent. Yeah.
the two of them are like, uh Francisca, sorry about that.
Yeah, they kind of don't know what to say because she's just giving them some truth. And it's tough on everybody. She's sick of the secrets. I don't blame her.
Right, remember she had that speech that she did to Magnus about
Mm-hmm.
that, how they would be like polite at each other, but it's
Yeah.
all the secrets and the anger is there with your toast and your jam. That it's this unspoken thing that swelters and smothers her, and she's
Oh,
feeling
that's
it now,
right.
and she's gonna let it all out.
Yep.
All right, so then 1954, Hannah comes face to face with Ulrich.
Wow. This is it.
Yeah,
He's back.
because we want this for him too. We want
Yeah.
Ulrich to have some peace, some like justice here.
Something. Yeah.
So Egon agrees to stay back so they can talk in private. Hannah seems, I will say, Hannah seems to be able to wrap Egon around her little finger for some reason. He does whatever she says.
She's all grabbing
Um,
him through the bars and stuff. That's uncalled for.
yeah, but I guess I just mean like for Egon's part, he's like
Oh, that's right.
easily, yeah. It's like first she talked him into, like you said, getting to see Ulrich at all, and then then she's like, I'll talk to him in private. That's probably not something they would normally allow people to
No,
do.
not at all.
Yeah,
That's a terrible move.
for a
But
man who's all about the duty.
well, he's
Yeah.
trying to be, he's trying to respect this woman's wishes or
Hmm.
whatever. I'm sure it's honorable to him.
Yeah. So, all right. Ulrich shuffles forward and he's wearing this straight jacket and his ankles are cuffed together. His face is beaten badly. She reaches out to touch his face. He jumps back at first. No one has tenderly touched him in almost a year. But after a minute, he comes to and realizes it's her, and he thinks she's an angel. He weeps in gratitude that she came for him and asks about Mikkel, Katerina, and the rest of his kids. Her face becomes hardened as he asks about other people. And cruelly, Hannah asks if he could choose today, who would he pick, Katerina or her?
Mm-mm.
She remembers out loud that he never said, I love you. He tells her he loved her and he still loves her. And he asks for her help getting out and says he will leave Katerina. She cuts back that he needs no one, especially her. And I guess she's thinking about what stranger Jonas said to her when she says this, because
Yeah.
um, he begs for her to help, and she turns her back on him, and Hannah tells Egon that it's not her husband, which is true.
It's true. It's true, but Egon doesn't suspect a darn thing here, does he? It's like, I mean, come on. This was such a show. It was such a obvious show that they just gave him, and I don't know. I didn't like the way that Egon didn't even suspect that she was having some foul play here and messing with this man.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, her face hardened. It did. Like you watch her face change. At first, he's calling her an angel, and she's just so like beside herself. Like, yes, this is how I wanted this to go. This is what she wanted. She wanted him to call her an angel and all that stuff. But as soon
Mhm.
as he starts asking about his family, which is not what she wants him to do, she doesn't want him to go back to Mikkel and Hannah and not Hannah, Mikkel and Martha and Magnus and all them.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when she switches it up coldly. Yeah, it's not fun to watch.
Mhm. Yeah, this is really brutal
Yeah.
because and I had remembered the scene differently.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought I remembered that he didn't say he loved her. That, like, you know, that he had just, been anyway, he does say he loves her. It's not like he
Too
because
late though.
before he said, she said, "I love you," and he said, "You're beautiful."
Hmm.
But he actually said, "I love you," and says he will leave Katerina, but I guess
It was
maybe
too late at
Hannah
that point.
suspects that he was just saying it
Hmm. Just to get
to
out of jail.
get her
Yeah.
help.
To get back to his family that he loves and still cares for.
Yeah. And I mean, we have sort of had that moment in the bunker when she's like, "You need to tell Katerina and make sure that
Right.
Katerina knows." So you're sort of roped into this thought that, "Oh, maybe Hannah does care. She's not a heartless bitch." But I mean, this is like, I don't know, the lowest you could probably go. I feel
Yeah.
like this is the only time I've seen somebody on the show, like, cruelly hurt
Right.
somebody on purpose.
Besides Clausen, yes, that's true. Yeah, she leaves her son stranded, steals his device, and then to go to do some kind of weird ultimatum with her old lover and then leave him stranded as well. And I guess that makes her feel powerful to do these things. I don't know, but
Mhm.
you're right. It's totally cruel. She's a evil, I won't call her an evil genius. She's a evil woman.
Yeah. It does this I guess this is where we can talk about the plan. It's like,
Okay.
for it kind of makes me wonder what her plan was, like, since maybe, if things had gone well, maybe she thought they'd run off in the sunset together,
Mhm.
but it just seemed like she quickly came to this decision that she was gonna leave him and that it doesn't really matter what he said anymore. She was just gonna punish him by just walking away. It's just yeah.
Well, her plan is revealed. Again, we're going to talk ahead of ourselves here, but she, sh she's gone. She left Wyndon behind, or she left that old Wyndon behind. She's off to make a fresh start. She hoped to make a fresh start with Ulrich, but if it's not going to be with Ulrich, then it's going to be a fresh start by herself, and she's just going to, follow her senses from here. I suppose. I think she's done with everything behind her. She sees Jonas as have broken up with her or whatever. You
Mhm.
can't break up with your mom, but kind of.
I guess. I guess I thought yeah, well, I guess we can talk about it later. I thought maybe that was a new impromptu,
What's that?
but let's just talk about it when we get to that scene.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so in 2020, Katerina looks at their family photo. Marta walks behind her and hugs her from behind. She tells Katerina that everything will be fine. In walks Magnus with the suitcase. Katerina wonders if they know how to use it, but they tell her that only Bartosz does. Katerina closes it up and takes it upstairs.
Mom, dang it.
Marta tells Magnus that both Mikkel and Ulrich are alive. They are in another time.
Yep. So I guess Martha now is on board with what Katerina is aware of. I guess they talked in the car or something.
Hmm. Yeah.
She did the old Alexander Kohler here. She
Yeah.
like hugged her mom and told her everything's going to be okay. I like that.
Everything will be okay.
Yep. Everything will be okay, and if everything is not okay, then it's the end. That's
Or
what
not
like
the end.
I'm talking about Ling and
Yeah. Right.
anyway.
Back in 1987, Claudia tries to rush Egon into packing his things quickly. Egon asks for a minute. He grabs his medications, as she suggested. Egon rambles on about Ulrich and how that he wanted him to go to the caves. He realizes the caves are the center of everything. Claudia does not want anyone interfering with the caves and tries to stop her father from calling the police, but in true form, Egon will not be swayed. He steps back from her, breathing hard. Perhaps this last puzzle piece has clicked into place. Never did
Mhm.
Egon suspect his own daughter would want to keep him from the truth.
Mhm.
He recognizes that Claudia is really there because she knows about time travel, because he says, "Why are you really here?"
Right.
He realizes it's not about him and her care for him, that she knows about the time travel and that it's related to the nuclear plant. Egon is sad to realize that Claudia may be part of the block that's been hiding the truth. Perhaps she knows about the missing boys.
Oh man, okay. Yeah.
It's too terrible for him to fully comprehend, and he wants the caves to be searched. Um,
I
do
feel
you
like
want to
you're
say anything? Do you want to say
yeah,
anything now?
I feel like you're proving my case for me here with your
Okay.
words. That's exactly what Egon would do is call the police and do the right thing all the time. Um what about you?
Well, because but he only knows half of the formula. That's like saying, I feel like if perhaps the reason he's now horrified about Claudia is he thinks that is he suspects these things about her, but if it's kind of like old, Egon's shown all along. He's not like he kind of sees things, but he only sees one side, like the proverbial
Right.
elephant that Clausen likes to talk about.
Right.
He
He's
sees the worst in people. Like he sees something and he kind of assumes the worst case scenario.
yes. You're exactly right, and that's exactly why he's so horrified, is because he's always thought Claudia was different, and he always thought Claudia was honorable, and he's horrified that Claudia is part of that like unhonorable group of people that are trying to hide things like murder. And he's so horrified that he's just beside himself. I think to me, it all makes perfect sense because he never realized that Claudia could possibly be anybody bad. She's his daughter. Like, he thinks the world of her. So, like, his whole world is crashing now.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep going because I have more good stuff in here. Okay. So then Claudia is now fully yelling denials.
Oh, I thought
She
we were done with that scene. Okay, yes, keep
Oh
going.
no, I have a lot more here. Claudia tries to regain control, but Egon has his marching orders now. At all costs, he will report what he's found. A man of duty. So I guess I have this in here. Like I believed you even before I realized it. Okay. Claudia knows she can't have swarms of police searching the caves. The secrets are too precious. What's in the cave eclipses all scientific discovery, is what she
Right.
says. Egon is then shocked that for Claudia, it's all about her, that she has no heart. I felt like this was a sudden shift from what he
Hmm.
just told her. He was just telling her, "You've always been different. You saw the world differently from the start." And now he's like, "You haven't changed. It's all about you." It was just like, wow, that's a shocking turn of I thought you thought she was different in a good way. But now he's kind of saying like, "I've always thought all along you were selfish and self-involved, and now I have the proof."
I saw it as I didn't see it that way. I thought that, like I said, that he always put her on a pedestal, and now he's shocked at what he's seeing the truth now with his eyes.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, it was just the way he says, "You haven't changed, it's all about you, you have no heart," um,
Yeah.
is what he says, and the
Okay.
fact is, Claudia is wanting to help Regina. She just doesn't
Yeah.
feel she can share this with Egon.
Yeah. I don't know if he.
Yeah.
She wants to help Regina, but she also wants to help Egon too. You're
Yeah.
talking about how like she could tell him the truth,
Mhm.
and that's a truth that she could tell him that might sway him. Like, hey, a newspaper article that said that you were going to die today in this apartment, so let's get out of
Get outta
here
here.
now.
Yeah. Can we argue about this later after I moved you into my apartment? Then we can
Yes.
resume this fight over the phone. Um, all right. So they fight over the phone and Egon ends up falling down, knocking his head. I think it's important that we all understand Claudia did not push him. He just
Right.
fell.
Yes.
And he fell against like a corner of a table. And so blood begins to pool behind his head. Claudia tries to help him and goes to call an ambulance while her father whimpers. And at the last moment, she hangs up on emergency services. I guess she's just too afraid that Egon will report the caves, and she remembers the words of older Claudia. You will have to make sacrifices. Everything will happen as it always does, but if everything goes right, she'll live, Regina.
Hmm. Am I jumping in now? Am I
You
okay with
can.
that?
What do you
Okay.
got to say?
I'd say, yeah, you're right. The struggle, it was a struggle, but she didn't push him. You're right. Is there like a school of thought that thinks that she did that on purpose or something?
No, I don't think anybody's ever said like she does it on purpose, but I think when you're watching this, you can kind of it's like it's that old argument if you don't stop something from happening, is that the same as murder? Like did she murder her father?
Right.
She didn't intentionally harm him, but she also didn't make sure he got
Okay.
help. So is that the same? It's more of a philosophical
Yeah.
question than really a statement I'm making.
The same thing happened in Breaking Bad as well. It's another TV show. A similar thing happened where a person goes into a room and they watch a person OD on drugs,
Mhm.
but they
Right.
don't step in to stop. They just watch it happen and then like walk out of the room. So that person also did not kill that person. That person OD'd on drugs, but they were there and they could have prevented it from happening
Mhm.
had they stepped in. They chose not to. That's what
Yeah.
Claudia did here. She didn't kill him, but she did make the choice to not call the police and report it quickly. That is a choice
Yeah.
that she did make. So she did have a part in it, I think.
Mhm. I mean, he lost life pretty quickly, so
Right.
you could say even if she'd called an ambulance, would that have been able to save him?
No, they would not have been able to save him.
um, but yeah, so it did yeah, so then well, I guess she could have called for the ambulance and he still would have died, and then at least she would
Hmm.
know he didn't, you know, she didn't just watch her father die, but,
Right. She would have felt
um,
better about that, I
yeah.
think. I know she would have.
So Egon begins to lose life. Claudia apologizes for this act, and Egon says, "You are the white devil." That's the last thing he says to her. A chilling prophecy that has come true. Egon watched as his daughter's body was exhumed for evidence, while Claudia watches passively as her father dies from blood loss.
Oh, interesting. I like that. I didn't make that connection. Thank you. I like it.
Yeah, this episode starts with
Yeah,
Egon looking at Claudia's body, and it ends. This isn't the very end, but it's
that's so cool.
bookended by Claudia watching her father die.
That's much better than what I wrote down because I wrote down this was like a Batman movie, like a Batman ending. So I like yours better. It shadows the beginning. Um, I did say something else interesting though, because I didn't just look at it like a Batman movie. They
Mhm,
changed the lighting around. They made the lighting like really like red and kind of like this orange kind of sinister glow in the apartment. That's
mhm,
obviously a choice. They didn't have to
yeah.
do that. So I thought it was really neat the way they kind of did that and kind of foreshadowed what was going to happen in a way, like how like weird and orange and strange the apartment looked.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the color of yellow has been associated with Egon a lot in the show, like, he had his yellow uniform,
Mhm, mhm.
his shirt, and in the chemotherapy room, the room was sort of
Oh, right.
yellow,
Yep.
and this is they made it this almost looks like Twilight, and so
Okay.
you could say yellow added with red, like the blood would be orangey, so maybe it's sort of a very it's a very strong tonal choice, but yeah.
Sucks for him that he has to realize this, like, his the last thing that he realizes before he dies is that his daughter is the white devil and that he's
Mhm.
been thinking about his whole life.
Yeah.
Bummer.
It's a cool reveal though because, we were talking about in previous episodes who was the white devil, and Claudia's name never came up.
No, I would never have suspected her.
People were thinking could be Noah, could be Auric. Yeah, it wasn't
Adam.
you wouldn't have thought it was Claudia.
No, and
So
it's really neat, just like Jonas too, where she's, like, trying so hard to, like, change the past of what she knows, and instead she just reinforces it with her very presence.
mhm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's one of the things I like about Dark a lot too, is like, of course, we don't have time travel, but we do have, things in our lives. We have choices that we make, and we wish we had made certain choices, and, other choices we have to stick with for our lives, and they'll always be there. And,
Mhm.
sometimes I think about that when I watch this show. I find myself thinking about that a lot. Like, you know, how, just how it can relate to obviously how it can relate to our lives, I suppose. I don't have a great way to wrap that up. I think you get my gist.
Yeah, it's a poetic justice, I think, here too, that in the last episode, Claudia is saying, there will be times when you'll need to make the sacrifices,
Oh
and here
yeah.
she's reciting those words to herself.
This is why it reminded me of a Batman movie, because the villain reveal and the villain is like saying these things that were like, muttered earlier in the show. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so in 1987, Egon has just died, and across the 33 years in the past, in 1954, Egon offers Hannah a
Aha.
cigarette. He apologizes for not acting quicker when Ulrich lost control. He then wonders if she knows Agnes Nielsen because that name of Nielsen is
Hmm.
unusual. She says no and then asks if she's traveling back today. She reports that she lost everything and wants a fresh start. Egon leans forward to give her a light. He then lights his own and they smile at each other.
Hannah and her cigarettes, man, she drives the men wild. And like, yeah, they're making these smoldering eyes at each other. I know what's gonna happen here. I got a pretty good idea. Okay, I see what you're saying. I I'm going back to our conversation 15 minutes back.
Okay.
And it
Time
I could
traveling back to 15 minutes.
yeah, just like Marta always wishes she could do. And yeah, you say that she reports that she lost everything and wants a fresh start. And I think that you mean like now she has lost everything. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like this plan, you mentioned that she had a plan. The plan was for her to start over, but I don't know if she made that decision until she made the decision to walk away from Ulrich.
Right. I don't know. I kind of think that she went to the past to be in the past. That's my suspicion. Is
Okay.
like with or without Ulrich, this is where she's going to be because there's nothing for her in
Yeah.
2020.
I mean, she really likes to twist the knife in people, so if Ulrich did go with her plan to leave,
Oh.
then I could see her wanting to go back to, like, lord it over Katerina,
Oh man.
I
Whew.
guess,
And she
but
is evil. You're right. God,
because she
Katarina
wants
would kick her ass.
I mean, in a way, you could say she does give him the choice because she says, "If you had to choose today,
Hmm.
who would you pick, me or Katerina?" And if you wanna give if you want to give a more charitable reading on that, you could say Hannah gave him the choice that if you would say me, we could be together. But if it's still Katerina, then giving you what you want and you won't be with me.
Hmm.
I mean, she could have been like, if she wanted to be really nice and sacrificial, she could still get him out and send
Yes.
him on his merry way. But we know Ulrich can't go back to the past because the chain reaction and all that. He needs to
Right.
stay here, so
Right.
everything can happen as it always happened. But if you could say Hannah was giving him what he wanted, life without her. If he would still pick Katerina, then she's going to walk away from him. But that's a slightly more charitable approach to her, like, I don't know, this is really bizarre, but okay, so, like, as a comparison, I'm saying, some people believe there's, like, of course, some people believe there's a heaven and hell, like a literal heaven and a literal hell, where other
Hmm.
people sometimes feel like hell is actually just life without God,
Right.
so if you don't choose his eternal life, then you get what you want, which is life without God. So in the case of Hannah, it's like, who would you choose, me or Katerina? If you choose Katerina, then it's life without me. And life without
Hmm.
her didn't have to necessarily mean him in prison,
Right.
but she gave him the choice, is all I'm saying. And he chose, or he just didn't choose quick enough, I think, for Hannah's taste.
Yeah, I think like no matter what he said, like the answer was on his face and she
Yeah.
saw it. So, you know, I think that's what's up there.
Yeah. All right, so enough philosophical talk. We are on to our montage.
Oh,
The
not yet.
song.
I gotta say
Oh,
one more
no.
thing about that.
Okay, go ahead.
We were talking about, yeah, Hannah and Egon. I have a sneaking suspicion that Hannah is now gonna get in there and help wreck Egon's life. Because we know that, Egon's wife is like sleeping around with
Mhm.
Agnes right now. But I think if Egon were to be distracted by another beautiful woman and have an affair of his own, that would pretty much seal the deal that they're going to get divorced, or who knows what all is going to happen. So I don't like this for the speculative reason of what Hannah could do from this point on. I don't like
Yeah.
this
She likes to wreck men's lives so far as what we've seen
so far.
of
Yeah.
Hannah. Hmm.
So yep,
Oh,
I'll let you go on. I just wanted to point that out that
yeah.
just that basic speculation.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, and I think, when you were saying that the only person that's having fun is Clausen, I was like, well, I think Hannah was kind of having fun here,
Oh,
but
yeah, maybe she is having some fun. She's smiling a lot. That's true. She loves the
yeah,
50s.
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, she loves the 50s. Maybe she's feeling free finally that she's like left Ulrich behind. We wish she didn't have to leave him in such a
Yeah.
dire situation, but she has sort of she has sort of wrapped her life around getting Ulrich, and now that she's like that's done, she's sort of free to, have a different life now.
Yeah. Yep.
So our interlude music is God's Whisper by Rari, and which is a very cool song. Um, are
Oh,
you
we disagree again. Like, this is the first song I did not enjoy in Dark.
Oh my gosh.
This is the first song that upset me, that I was like, "I don't like
Oh,
this song choice."
were
It
you
has to
already
happen
familiar with
somewhere.
this song?
No, but I'm familiar with this, like, stomp clap genre, like, where they stomp and they clap, and then a chorus of people sing. Like, I don't know, I just have, like, a an aversion to that, I believe.
Oh, very cool. Okay. I mean, I'm like I'm shocked that well, first of all, I didn't know it was a genre. But I could see that. I think I really like this. I heard this song first on the movie American Honey, which is one of the A24 movies you'll have to watch eventually. Um,
Okay, you were talking about Honey Boy earlier. I don't think I've ever heard of American Honey.
yeah, American Honey stars another Shia LaBeouf movie, and
Oh, that's the one that I was thinking of. He
Sasha
had
Lane, where they go
Yeah,
sell magazines. They're like driving around America
okay,
in a van selling magazine subscriptions that nobody wants.
yes.
And the group, they're traveling around together in a van, and they do like crazy stuff. And so this one night they have a bonfire. It's at the end of the movie actually. They have this bonfire and they're all dancing around to this song. And it's
Yeah,
it's a wild and free song. And so I feel like that's maybe it's a little too wild for dark. I don't know. I've always really liked the song. So
it's a bonfire song, that's for sure. I can see
yeah.
that around a bonfire. I think we're good. And we were talking about the song by Rory. And Lindsay, I think we talked about the song a little bit. Do you want to describe the what's happening in our scene while the song is going on?
Okay, so during the interlude, Claudia looks at her father's dead body with tears in her eyes. She walks out of the room. The forensic specialist in 1954 finishes up with Claudia's corpse, pulling a sheet over her head. Clausen looks at the note and the picture of his brother. Alexander sits in a cell looking larger than the room. The angle makes him look like a big man in a little room.
Yeah.
He looks dejected. Katerina examines the time machine. Marta lies on her back, thinking of her interaction with Jonas. Elsewhere, stranger Jonas has his own sweet thoughts. That's it for the montage.
Okay, right. Yeah, I think the only, like, standout to me was the time machine,
Hmm.
knowing that Katerina has that now. Otherwise, everybody's just kinda thinking about what happened, with the exception of Claudia. They're kinda, like, pulling the curtain on her, so it's, like, almost like her story is over in a way, like, she died a couple episodes back, but now the way that this guy is, like, putting the sheet over her head, it's like a curtain call or whatever. It's interesting to me.
Yeah. I think they're still kind of trying to mirror her and Egon because Egon like doesn't
Mhm.
have a sheet. Nobody with a sheet over his head, but he's dead and she's dead in that time. So
Okay, I'll accept that.
Claudia returns home, suitcase in hand. Regina has left a note saying she's staying over with a friend. The friend is probably Alexander.
I would guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who other friends does she have? Katerina?
Claudia vigorously washes her hands, trying to get the blood off. She cries panicky gasps of air. She sits on the ground, overwhelmed with the day's events. Into the house walks teen Jonas. He's got his own hoodie on, and he has keys to the house from older Claudia.
He's like
She
Stranger
doesn't.
Jonas already. It's like that's what I thought. He looks like a young Stranger Jonas here.
Yeah, he's starting to transition. He's got his
Mhm.
hair is getting longer. He's got the long hair. She doesn't see how this is possible when she doesn't know who he is. She then realizes her older self gave him the keys. Jonas does his best Terminator impression and tells her to come with him if she wants to live. He doesn't say that, but he says,
You might as
"Come
well
with me." He kind of goes, "Come with me," and then expects her to follow, but it's a very stoic way he's talking.
have.
Claudia doesn't understand what's happening, and Jonas says, "I know what you did last summer." So he's kind of mixing up his movie metaphors.
He's a horror fan. He loves it.
Yeah. And he says, "I know what you did. She told me, but she also said it doesn't have to happen that way again next time."
Right.
And then Jonas says they are going to the future.
They've both been to the future, right? It doesn't seem like that big of a mic drop moment because they've both been to the future. This was a
Yeah.
weird scene. You're right. He's quoting these horror movies. Um, I want to back up though. Obviously, we have a another Shakespeare reference here because she's trying to wash the blood off her hands, like Lady Macbeth. That's who did that, right? Who was trying to wash the blood off her hands and it wouldn't come off.
Yes.
I think that's an obvious reference that's happening because that Macbeth poster that hangs above Martha's bed as well is a direct tie into that.
Yeah. Good call.
Um, let's see what else happens here before she starts washing her hands. Oh yeah, okay, she's crying. The note with the friend. Um, where does Alexander live? Did we already talk about this? Like, where are they going to hang out in the woods? What are they going to do?
Well, okay, by now, Alexander has a job.
Oh, that's right. He's making the door. Okay, yes.
He's working secretly for Claudia. So
Oh, he
we're
makes tons of money.
yeah, we're assuming and she knows he's a friend of Regina's, so she's probably paying him pretty good
Oh
to keep
God.
his mouth shut.
Okay, you're right. He's got a fat place. Yeah, they're hanging out. They're having a good time. All right. But yeah, I did want to talk about how Jonas is turning into Stranger Jonas here. That's exactly what I was thinking with that jacket,
Mhm.
his clothing choice, almost even kind of the way he was acting. I thought he was almost trying to kind of mirror Andreas here, and like you were saying, Andreas was mimicking young Jonas. I think young Jonas is doing the exact opposite here, trying to show us that he's
Mhm.
going to be the stranger.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you mentioned Claudia sort of going through well, you were talking about her corpse, but at first I thought you were talking about just the fact that this is a kind of an awakening for her. She's turning over this new leaf.
Yeah.
The last episode, Jonas had to turn over a new leaf. Jonas had to face some hard truths. And
Yeah.
so that was a turning point episode for him, and he kind of had to grow up really quickly. So I saw this as like a remnant of that
Okay.
he's shedding the innocent Jonas. Remember, what is it the guy says that there are 3 lives?
Yes.
The loss of
Naivete.
naivety, the loss of innocence, and the loss of life. So perhaps here this is the loss of his innocence in the last episode, and so he's
Okay.
now living his 3rd
Oh,
life.
yeah. Or his second life. This is his second life as Stranger
Second life.
Jonas. Yeah.
Right. Well, you did say naivety was like, I don't believe in Santa Claus, so I don't know. I feel like we're past that.
I'm kind of losing track of of the teams here, like the team keep things the way they are and team let's change the future to make things better. Because it seems like both here, Jonas and Claudia are both like geared towards changing things.
hmm Yeah, they're almost their own separate team here,
Yeah,
in a way. Just like Francisca and Magnus are kind of their own team. They
sh-
sort of
sure.
they're within the structure, but they're also outside the structure. And we know that later on they're not together because we've seen Stranger
Oh,
Jonas call out Claudia
that's right.
for becoming what she feared.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah. So, but like this must be a necessary partnership because older Claudia guided teen Jonas, and now it's Jonas's turn to guide younger Claudia.
Yeah, that's really interesting now that you mentioned that. Because, yeah, older Claudia had the blueprints and the voice on the tapes. That's so neat how they're like just they're a little team. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna become a team. I guess not. They're not, because you can tell by the way the older Jonas talks about her. He's not liking her.
hmm Well, they're a
But yeah,
team for now.
yeah. We'll like it while it lasts.
We like Jonas and we like Claudia.
Yeah,
So this is an interesting team up. It's not a team up based on sexuality or attraction. It's like two people driven to discover the secrets of time travel to save people they
yeah.
care about. I just wanted to, okay, just a final thought about this,
Of
okay?
course, of course.
Um I wanted to say that this is probably one of the most disturbing episodes of the season, with the combination of Hannah and the death of Egon. And it's just, I guess I'm reiterating again what I said at the beginning. With the happiness of the last episode, this episode is pretty dire.
Yeah, a big difference from the last one.
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard to do our little game of picking out the best and the worst character. This might be the hardest I've ever had to think about this because there's really no
Oh
clear
gosh, I
winner.
don't think I don't think I have any qualms at all about about it.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, then I'll let you go first, Mrs. Confidence, with no qualms. Yeah, who do you got for your number one favorite?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I don't have that figured out. I have my worst character in the bag. But
Do you want to start with that then? Yeah, if that's what you were thinking about, then
okay. Yeah, okay. Let me start with my worst character. Okay, the worst character, it has to be Hannah.
Hannah. I wanted to say it at the same time you did. It didn't quite work out, but yes, I'm with you. You tell me why.
I mean, I don't know if we've already said it so
Yeah,
much. She's just
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, we'll just cut and paste some stuff we said in the in this episode and put it in right here, and how conniving and cold and calculating and all that stuff she is here. She's got no heart. No heart.
Yeah, she's pretty awful.
I was thinking Hannah is as a clear winner, but I was really having a hard time trying to convince myself it should be Hannah over top of Clausen, because he sure was pissing me off a lot this episode. And then there's Claudia. I mean, we have to acknowledge that Claudia didn't make a great choice here. And so for me, I had a hard time deciding between those three. But yeah, Hannah came through with 70% of the vote. So she's fine.
Mhm.
She's fine to get last place. A first
I think
place
we've given
person.
her I think we've given her worse before, like when she reported the rape.
Yeah, we both
Or at least
agreed
one
that
of us
episode.
has.
Yeah, we both agreed that episode as well. So
Okay. Okay.
We're in concert again. Um, I know who my favorite is already because I've
Okay.
pre-thought
Why don't
about
you
it.
go ahead with that?
Okay, it's almost feels like more of an honorable mention than like my favorite, but I did want to hand it over to Egon for the reasons I was saying earlier. Um, because he does remind me of that Ned Stark type character that um does the right thing even if it hurts him, and does the right thing even if it hurts other people, and it doesn't seem right to us, but I think to like his honor code, he's honoring himself somehow. I was sad to see him go. He's a bumbling fool. um I like the older version of Egon better than the younger version for whatever reason, but the younger version impressed me a lot this episode, the way he talked to Helge towards the end there. He was just all over the place this episode, and I didn't like some of the choices he made. Uh, I just want to, like I said, it's more of an honorable mention, and it's more of like a I'm honoring him by giving him this spot because I really couldn't think of anybody else that was a real standout. I tinkered with Magnus a wee bit, but I think Egon outshadowed him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm giving mine to Egon too. That really
Oh,
was who I was going to give it to
holy cow. Awesome.
because he just this is a big episode for him. We've got Egon in both time periods and he's getting roped into Hannah's tentacles at the end, which we kind of hate to see, but
That's right.
I think overall he's sort of finally seeing the light or
Yeah.
getting close to it, and it's snatched away from him, from his daughter, and it's all very very tragic.
I think it's clear he's a good guy. Um,
Yeah.
Not a smart guy, but a good guy. Maybe not even a happy guy, you know? Like he's not like, Mr. Congeniality or anything either, but he doesn't wish anybody any harm, I don't believe. But I do know that there's a term for this thing, Lindsay. I know we're running pretty long, but we're going to roll with it. And I'm going to give you the dark quote quiz, just like you gave me last week, Lindsay. Do you think that you could pass a quote quiz? And like, if I gave you a line from Dark, you would be able to guess who said it?
I can try it. Like you said, I think it's harder than you think unless you have the episode clear in your head. But I would be game. I'd be down for it.
Great. Okay. I got 10 quotes here. And yeah, I went through like the scripts, listeners at home, you can do the same thing too. If you just Google Dark scripts or Dark transcripts and then put in the episode you want to look at, they're all online. At least seasons 1 and 2 are online. So all these quotes are going to be from seasons 1 and 2 that I'm
Okay.
giving you. So let's see how good you can do. And remember, keep in mind too that like I was aware that you were looking for quotes last week, so I kind of kept that in mind. I was like, okay, I got to make sure that like these questions are tough, so that Lindsay's
Okay.
a seasoned pro. So here we go. First
Mhm.
quote. My name is Agnes Nielsen. This is my son Trant. Who said that, Lindsay?
It would be Agnes.
That's right. Yep. It wasn't a trick question. That was Agnes Nielsen. You got one. There you go.
My
Okay.
gosh. Jeez.
Okay. Second quote. I'm Alexander. Who said that?
What is this? What kind of quiz is this?
It's a quote quiz from Dark. Can you guess who said that?
Uh, Alexander Tiedemann / Kohler.
Sweet. Yeah, I think he was Alexander Kohler at the time, but I'll give it to you. He just said Alexander. It's Alexander. Was not a trick question. Okay. Number 3. Hey, this is Martha. Leave a message after the signal.
Martha.
That is Martha's cell phone answering service. Yes, that is correct. Okay, next up.
My God.
My name is Noah.
Steve, what is this? I wanted an actual challenge.
Challenges are coming up. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Noah. It's
You got it.
Noah.
I can't believe you got 4 out of 4. Okay, I did terrible with my quiz. You're doing so much better. All right. Okay. No, I'm Mickle. Who said that?
I'm going to say Mikkel Nielsen.
That's right. Okay. This one might be tough because, this is like, okay. Hi, Mickle, boy from the future. I'm Hannah. Okay, it was the same conversation this happened. So if you can remember who Mickle was talking to, you might be able to get this. Okay. I'll read that again. Hi, Mickle, boy from the future. I'm Hannah.
How about Hannah?
There you go. Yes. We have a good memory. That was like last season, I think. Okay. Next one. I'm Bartosh.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Oh, come on. I got 3 more and they're great.
This is like the saddest, least interesting quiz anybody's ever given anybody.
The next one. My mom will be here any minute now. She's the chief of police. I mean, come on. That could be who might have said that?
My mom will be here any minute now. She's the chief of police.
See? Not
Hold
all easy,
on,
are
give
they?
me a second.
See? They're hard. Okay, she didn't actually say it. She signed it. Okay.
I guess it's Elizabeth.
I think I might just give you 5 points for that. So you're not going to get a 100 on this quiz. Okay. I'm Nurse Inez, but you can just call me Inez.
Inez.
And then the last one. Ulrich, it's me, Charlotte. You got to say it to get the point.
Charlotte.
95 points, Lindsay. You kick ass at this. It was hard. Actually, it was very hard to go through and find these quotes because I was looking for quotes specifically where people said their name in their line, and it doesn't happen very often. So you're welcome for the quiz, Lindsay.
Well, thanks for the quiz, Steve. But there is also I'm Ulrich Nielsen. I'm Mikkel Nielsen.
Well, okay, you're right. So you're okay. The quiz has become the quizzer. Is that what's going on here?
Oh, Steve, I'm so sad. Please give me a real quiz one day.
I don't know how to do
I
that.
I really wanted to do a quote quiz where I had to do it for real.
Shit, I'm so sorry. I think these things are funny, and then nobody thinks they're funny but me.
Maybe somebody else will think it's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the second time I've disappointed you, and I apologize.
Yeah, I'm an overachiever. I love a test.
All right. Okay. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have to come up with a real test for you because, yeah, all my tests are too jokey.
You could probably give me a pretty good season 3 quiz because I've only seen season 3 one time.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I will do that then. Like maybe like when we're like 3 or 4 episodes in of season 3, I'll figure something out.
Okay.
All right, but I feel bad that I disappointed. I made you laugh, but I wanted you to love it, not hate it.
I thought maybe you were gonna do like 3 or 4 like that, and then some real ones, and then it just kept going. So
Who, me? Well, let's see what the listeners have thought this week. Lindsay?
Okay.
We got some email this week from our boy Dylan. And I think that everybody should probably go follow Dylan. That's the least you could do. He follows us on Instagram under Sweet Child of Time on Instagram, Sweet Child of Time Pod, that is. So if you just look at our followers and just search Dylan, he'll be the first one there. Dylan, first off, he gave us another rating on Spotify, and on our Spotify episode, he wrote this, Lindsay. Okay. Outstanding recap this week, per usual. I selectively want to compliment Steve's vocabulary, his wording in describing the different characters, and overall his great choice of words. I'm flattered. You should have complimented Lindsey because she does way more talking and has a way bigger vocabulary than me. But I will take the compliment. Thank you very much, Dylan. I appreciate it.
Wow. Dylan. Wow. No love to throw to me for this week. Okay.
Well, your name did come up because he continued because he only had but so many characters that he could use in that review. So
Mhm.
at that point, he switched over to DMs, and he said that I could only leave one comment on the Spotify, so I had some other things to say. This is the other things he had to say.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Dylan says, I'm not watching the series along with each episode, but I've completed the series for my second or third time during the month of December. So this helps me just convey the message. Oh, wait. This helps me just convey the message that this podcast is so good. Your podcast is so entertaining and engaging that it's beyond great all in by itself. Well, that's nice stuff to say. I'm definitely planning on listening over again in congruence with each episode, but I'm enjoying staying with your pace and not jumping ahead or moving backwards. Thank you so much for that. And this is another proof that Dylan is a similar podcast listener that I am, because I
Mhm.
love listening to movie and TV show and book recap podcasts, but I usually don't watch the show before I listen. Like I'll find like a recap podcast of Game of Thrones, for example, and I'll just start listening from season 1 because I've seen the show so many times. And if a good recapper is doing what they're supposed to be doing, as you're driving or walking, you can replay the episode in your head. And it's almost like you're watching TV again.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so with your recaps, the way you're doing it, that's what's really catching Dylan's ears and helping him remember these episodes is your recaps. And he wrote right here, thank you and Lindsey very much for doing this. See, he thanked you too.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I hope that I feel like I try to write the recaps that so in a way that you can kind of visualize it as I'm writing it.
Yes.
And that might not be what other recap podcasts do, like if you're recap, but like these are written recaps, and a lot of times I do just read them straight off the page because I like the way I word things. Even I might not even remember how I worded it, um, but yeah, but thanks for the comments and thank you for listening and for commenting every week. It's nice because it's like it's one thing to have somebody comment in on occasion, but to have a loyal commenter, that's something I never thought I would have. So here we go. Thank you.
I know. It's wonderful and I love it too. And yeah, recapping, like I think when I did like 1899 and Wheel of Time, I don't do it exactly the same way you do because you're writing your recaps to be read. Whereas like my recaps, I write them just for myself to read off the page, but I do it a very similar way that you do, where I want to describe every scene. I don't just want to, I don't want to gloss over any detail.
Mhm.
Because the shows that we like are full of details, and you get rewarded by noticing these details and pointing them out. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's wrap up time. We're late into the evening here, almost midnight, Lindsay.
Wow. Yeah, it's late here in North Carolina.
So yeah, I guess we'll start doing our wrap up. Did we miss anything? Got the quiz or the the pseudo quiz, I guess we'll call it. The best and worst. We did
We
the
did our
recap, of course.
characters, we did the recap, we did our feedback. So I think that's everything.
All right, people. Well, I guess we're going to start heading out of here and we'll give a couple quick plugs. I have some music coming out August 25th. I recapped the Wheel of Time theme song, and then I am releasing an instrumental version of a song inspired by Dark called Sic Creatus Mundus Est, or maybe I got those words mixed up. Sic Mundus Creatus Est. August 25th, Introvoid, and I'll probably play it on the podcast at some point, maybe this week. Lindsey, you're still in the throes of Fantasia Fest, right?
Fantasia is over.
Oh
So
no!
yeah, so now I ended up with 4 reviews and an interview. So I have 5 things all at one of my stories.com. I also did a review of the new Universal Monster movie, Voyage of the Demeter. So that is out.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lengthy Oppenheimer discussion. I already did my review, but I released a discussion with another film critic on Oppenheimer. So that was that's worth a listen. And yeah, that's all that I have out right now. I don't really have anything coming up, although I wanted to say I'm very excited that tomorrow, theoretically, as long as everything's up and running, I'm going to get to see the restoration of Old Boy, which I've never seen before, and it's out in theaters.
The restoration of Old Boy.
Old Boy, yeah. The movie's called Old Boy.
Okay, okay.
But it released in 2003. So it's the 20th anniversary re-release.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's this Korean movie that people talk about all the time. It's got a really great hallway fight scene that almost like a scrolling fight scene.
Okay.
It's just this very famous movie, and they're bringing it back to the big screen. So I'm going to get to see Old Boy for the first time tomorrow night.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, congrats. I've never heard of it before. Nobody's talked to me about it. You said everybody talks about it, not to me. But okay, y'all talk about your Old Boy. Y'all have fun. Yeah, I listened to your interview you did with the filmmaker and the actress, and that was a great interview. I like your interview style. I'm not an interviewer. I'm a conversationalist, so I don't know how you do that kind of stuff. I get very nervous, like having to interview people. You did a great job. I listened to that. I did not listen to the Curse of the Demeter one, because I want to see that movie. I want to go into it fresh. And of course, Oppenheimer. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, so I didn't listen to your discussion on that, but I will in the future. And with that, we're going to take off, Lindsey. Lindsey?
That sounds good. I think that's good.
Yeah. Lindsey, I always say I hope you find water and shade, but I mean it more so this week than any other week, because you've had a tough week. I think you deserve more than water and shade. I think you deserve water, soda, wine, beer, ginger ale, like shade. No, you need like AC, like fans. Like, you deserve all that stuff, Lindsey. And I hope you always find everything you need. I hope when you go home, there's plenty of power and plenty of good stuff for you.
Thank you, Steve. I hope you find water and shade as well. I don't have any extras for you today because I'm just trying to survive at the moment. I don't have any extra handouts to give you, but
That's
I
fine.
will. Yeah, I wish you have a Sheets veggie wrap as well as water and shade.
I love them so. Okay, bye everybody. See y'all next week when we're doing Dark episode 8, the big finale. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.